When I married Greg, I didn't just gain a husband. I gained a son. Tyler was 12 when we got married, still a kid but already carrying the weight of a world that had disappointed him too many times. His mother, Greg's ex-wife, had walked out when he was barely 6, and though Greg did his best, I could tell Tyler was missing something. I did my best to fill the gap, even though I knew I wasn't his mom. I never tried to replace her, but I tried to be there in ways she hadn't been. Tyler wasn't the warmest kid. He kept to himself a lot, locked away in his room with headphones over his ears and his face buried in video games. At first, I thought he was just shy or maybe introverted. He was polite enough, never outright rude, but he didn't talk much. Greg said he'd always been like that. Quiet. A thinker. I accepted that. I figured, with time, he'd warm up. He eventually did, sort of. As he grew into his teen years, he started opening up more, especially with me. He'd sit at the kitchen counter while I cooked dinner, asking me questions about life, school, and the past. It warmed my heart, really. It made me feel like we were bonding, and even though there was still a distance between us sometimes, I thought we were on a good path. But looking back now, I wonder if I was too blind, too eager to see what I wanted to see instead of what was right in front of me. It started small, little things that didn't make sense, like money disappearing from my purse, or packages arriving at the house that I hadn't ordered. I asked Greg if he'd bought anything, but he hadn't. When I asked Tyler, he shrugged and said he didn't know. I didn't press too hard. Teenagers make mistakes, right? Maybe he didn't think it was a big deal. Then, one day, I walked past his room, and his door was cracked open just enough for me to catch a glimpse of his computer screen. He was in a chat room, talking to someone. I didn't want to spy, but something about the conversation caught my attention. There were messages like, "I need more. Please," and "I'll do anything." It made my stomach twist. I knocked on the door, and he quickly minimized the screen, his face pale. "What are you doing?" I asked as casually as I could. "Nothing," he said too quickly. "Just talking to friends." I didn't believe him, but I didn't know how to push without making him shut down completely. That night, I told Greg. He brushed it off. He's a teenager. They all talk to people online now. It's normal. But it didn't feel normal. Something was off. A week later, I found a box in the trash that hadn't been there before. It was for a phone. A brand new phone. One I hadn't seen Tyler using. When I confronted him about it, he got defensive. Said he bought it with his own money. But Tyler didn't have a job. Where was he getting money? Greg and I fought about it. I wanted to dig deeper. Greg said I was being paranoid, that I was making Tyler feel like a criminal. I tried to back off, but that nagging feeling stayed with me. And then came the day everything unraveled. I was cleaning Tyler's room while he was at school, a rare thing I did when I had the day off. I was dusting his shelves when I accidentally knocked over a stack of books. A notebook fell out from in between. I picked it up, intending to put it back, but then I noticed the pages were filled. Not with homework or random doodles, but lists, names, email addresses, transaction amounts. My heart pounded as I flipped through it. It looked like he was selling something, services maybe. There were usernames next to amounts and cryptic notes like delivered or waiting on upload. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but it all felt too calculated, too secretive. I made copies of everything and showed them to Greg that evening. He couldn't ignore it anymore. He was pale, shaken. He told me he'd talked to Tyler, but I insisted we needed to involve someone, his school counselor, the police even. Greg resisted, said we could fix this privately. But I knew that wasn't true. We were way past private now. That night, Greg confronted Tyler. I stayed downstairs, pacing, trying to block out the yelling. But then I heard something that made my knees buckle. Tyler wasn't just selling things online. He was involved in something deeper. He had been blackmailing people, classmates, even adults. He had hacked into accounts, accessed private information, and used it to extort money. He'd gotten good at it, too. He used encrypted messages, ghost emails, even fake payment accounts. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. When Greg came downstairs, he looked like a man who had aged 10 years in an hour. "I didn't raise him like this," he kept repeating, his voice hollow. "We didn't know what to do. Do we turn him in? Get him help? Cover it up?" The next few days were a blur. Tyler barely spoke to us. He stayed in his room, refusing meals. I tried to talk to him, but he wouldn't even look at me. Then one morning I woke up and he was gone. His bed was empty. The window was open. A note sat on his desk. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I just didn't know how to stop." We called the police. Filed a missing person report. It was 3 agonizing days before we heard anything. They found him at a bus station in another city, curled up in a corner, exhausted and scared. When we brought him home, he barely spoke a word. Greg broke down completely. I think that was the moment everything between us cracked for good. We tried counseling. For Tyler. For us. But the damage was deep.
The school got involved.
Then law enforcement. Charges were discussed, but because of his age and his cooperation, he was placed in a diversion program with mandatory therapy and monitoring. Still, the community found out. Parents stopped letting their kids near our house. Greg lost clients. I lost friends. And Tyler? He withdrew completely. The boy who once asked me questions while I stirred spaghetti sauce was gone, replaced by someone I couldn't recognize anymore. Greg and I tried to hold on, but our marriage slowly disintegrated. We started sleeping in separate rooms. Then came the silence. Long, cold silences that stretched for days. Eventually, Greg moved out. Said he needed space to figure things out. I didn't stop him. Now I sit in a quiet house. Tyler lives with his aunt in another state, part of his program's requirements. I get letters from him, sometimes. Short ones. Apologizing. Asking how I'm doing. I write back, even if I don't always know what to say. What happened tore us apart. We were a family once. Imperfect but trying. And then his secret came out, and it destroyed us. But even through the pain, I hold on to a small thread of hope. That Tyler can heal. That Greg and I can find peace. That maybe, one day, what was broken can be rebuilt.